Hey guys, Desolator Magic, and it's time for another quick installation of MTG Mistakes. This one's a lot simpler than the rest, but it's definitely worth mentioning because it's so subtle and I guarantee most of you don't realize that you're doing it. Let me start off by saying, did you guys know that in a study they found people universally across the board are less likely to spend a dollar bill if it's really nice and fresh and crispy, and they're much more likely to spend it if it's all like crumpled up and kind of fading. So you probably consider yourself a real smart person. You're immune to such stupidity and such, subtle mind games. You're either going to buy it because it's a good price and you actually need it, or you're not, and that's that. It has nothing to do with the crispness of your money, right? Apparently wrong. Apparently that plays an entirely huge part. So back in the Magic the Gathering world, there is a very similar effect, and it's people's treatment of tokens. And honestly, the discrimination against tokens and the just sheer tokenist attitude, it needs to stop. Of course, what I'm referring to is the fact that people treat like a 2/2 token with absolutely no abilities as less important and more expendable than a 2/2 creature card that's on the field with no abilities. Now, since somebody's already typing it down in the comments section, scroll back up because I'm about to mention it myself. If somebody bounces a creature card back to hand, you can just recast it. It's still in your hand. If somebody bounces a token back to hand, it's gone. And then, if a creature card dies, it goes to the graveyard. If a token dies, the card itself doesn't stay in the graveyard. So it is a little tiny bit less valuable to have a token. But people go way beyond reason with this. If your opponent is not even playing blue, which is the big bounce back to hand color, you don't really have to worry about it that much. In fact, if you know what's in their deck and it's just not an anti-token deck, no problem. And, there's always Virulent Plague, so if you know Virulent Plague is in there, that's a -2/-2 to all tokens for the rest of the game. Okay, then tokens are a little bit less valuable and a little bit more like, chump block targets. But like I said, besides the exceptions, people have this, mental issue where they say, oh, it's just a token, it's not a real card. I mean, more than half the time, somebody doesn't even have the token. They just put out like a little D6 and call it a token. So it's like this little tiny blank nothing, no artwork. You may not even be able to tell when it's tapped or not. It's just like an annoyance to have on the battlefield because it doesn't look like a real card. But still, you have to think about it in math because MTG is all math and strategy. If you wouldn't normally block with a 2/2 blank creature against like a 3/3 that's swinging at you, then don't block with a 2/2 token either. It's not like just because of the nature of it being a token it's less valuable. It's still 2 damage and it's still 2 toughness. I mean, that's what you have on the field. It's still a creature. You have to consider it, regardless of the card type. Of course, unless they have like an anti-token countermeasure or something that would have an advantage against a token, obviously. And yes, I know, tokens don't have devotion, and, they're all considered even, and then if they're playing Void Winter, yes, there's tons of exceptions, but besides any of those, people in general just need to stop treating tokens like they're expendable. You need to treat them like they're a very important creature on the field, or as important as if it was not a token. I've actually seen people, this was really recently, I think it was like 2-3 weeks ago, somebody said, oh yeah, I know, I've got a 3/2 Eldrazi Horror token out, and I was swinging, and he had 20 life, I had 16. I mean, there's just no reason to block it. I was swinging with like a 3/3, and he thought, oh, well, he's got 2 cards in hand, so he knows he's not going to come back. That's basically all he has on the field. I was extremely certain that they were non-creature spells that he was holding, so that's his last creature on the field. But he kind of got it as like an afterthought with like a special instant where when the creature dies you get an Eldrazi Horror. So normally he wouldn't block, he would let it through, go down to 17, and then counter swing for 3, obviously. And he had no reason to believe that I had some kind of like Celestial Flare, sacrifice your attacker type of thing, or some kind of ambush or removal. So he blocked with it just because it's a token. I mean, no, it's just a token. And he lost the match because of it. I guarantee he lost the match because of it, because he just could not pull another creature. But he had it in his mind, oh, it's just a token. Tokens are unimportant. Tokens are throwaway. Oh, you can generate 10 tokens on the fly. No problem. Well, first of all, no, your deck probably can't. And then if it can, great, win with them. They're creatures. They're real creatures, people. So hopefully that tip helps you out. It's especially timely considering the big token right now is a 3/2 Eldrazi. A 3/2 creature is really important. That's 3 damage. You could block and kill anything with 3 toughness, and when you swing, it's awfully hard for them to block without dying. I mean, it's just a really important good creature, so definitely treat it as such. Just see it as nothing but the number 3 and the number 2 on the battlefield, and that's that. Now, as soon as they have some kind of, bounce back to hand or, something like that, yeah, okay, now treat them as completely expendable. They're not important at all because they're probably going to get blown away. Just suicide blitz with them every time or chump block because they're probably dead next turn anyway. But until you have a reason to do that, treat them like every other creature. And that's my tip for today. So I'll see you guys next video.